Hey friends, this is DaintyTank. I hurt my finger and that's why that snap hurt. Anyways, hi. Welcome back to the testimony of Trixie Glimmer Smith, part 2. 2! I can count this time. It's lower numbers, it's a lot easier. Anyways, poke the Totoro for part 1. It's very fun and it's interesting. It's very gay, but in that weirdly creepy way that Parsnip was, which, by the way, click the Totoro for Parsnip. You know, the iCard, but, poke the Totoro, because that's a lot more fun to say. Anyways, there seems to be a lot of lesbians in this, as well as queer folk, so I'm into it. Let's get started. Load. We were left off at the creepy cottage because we had gotten the crowbar from Heidi and pretty much stole kicks from Greg and gave him only 3 coins. Yeah, anyways. So here we go. I had to take a short break to recover from gorging on about 5,000 calories of muffin. But I eventually reached the abandoned cottage at the end of Daffodil Lane. Managed to pry the front door open with a crowbar, which was tough given my complete lack of muscle mass. Regardless, I got the door open and tossed the crowbar away. Oh, you need to bring the crowbar back. The weak arms couldn't carry it anymore. Whatever. Without waiting around, I stepped through the dingy portal. Dingy portal. That's ominous. I was immediately hit by a wall of stale air and decay. Oh, this is gross. Ew. Ah! This place is disgusting. I flicked my torch on and finally realized it has no batteries. Frustrated, I chucked it on the floor. Litter bug. I'd have to rely on my eyesight, which had rapidly been deteriorated since I started staying up till 5 a.m. using my laptop screen as my only light source. Yeah, keep lights on if you're using your laptop screen. Blue light does hurt you. Not that it was great to begin with given my condition. The building was dim, with a few shafts of light piercing the boarded windows. What looked like a basement door was slightly ajar. Cold and unpleasant stench seemed to crawl from it. I wanted to spend as little time in this place as possible. I decided to take a look around the ground floor before heading downstairs. I stepped into what seemed to be a kitchen. Water. Oh, that creepy dripping sound effect. Good job. Water dripped from the wooden ceiling into the sink, which was close to overflowing. The water was dark and still. A few tufts of wool floated on the surface, stained a dirty brown. Ugh. Gross smell seeped into the room from the pantry. I carefully pried it open nose, relieved to not find any dead bodies. Instead, I found a small garden worth of decomposing grass, melting into a floor of green, frothy liquid. I didn't know decomposing grass, turned into a green, frothy liquid. Oh, gross. What? Who would keep grass in their pantry? Someone who ate grass, I guess. I poked around the pantry, trying to uncover anything else that might be hidden. At the very back, buried under some decaying grass, I found a tin of pineapple rings. The best before date was over 2 decades ago. Ugh. The front depicted a happy pineapple mascot. Eat me, he said. Sorry, happy pineapple abomination, but I don't think I should. Besides, I don't have a can opener. The bedroom was evidently plainly decorated years ago, but was now completely derelict. A bookshelf stood against one of the walls, but it was almost completely empty. The only books remaining were Manners for Girls and 7 Plants I Saw, an adventure story. I would read that. I totally would. Not the Manners for Girls. F that one. But 7 Plants I Saw, an adventure story sounds epic. I'm into that one. This side, not to read them. Shame. Like the kitchen, the window here had been boarded up, though I noticed that the planks seemed to have been taken from the bed's frame, given that the mattress slumped onto the floor. A pile of tools on the floor looked like the likely culprits for the renovations to the place's windows. Noted one of the tools was a sturdy crowbar. I went to all the trouble getting a crowbar when I could have just broken in here and gotten one for free. The tools looked old, but judging by their relative cleanliness, appeared to have been used recently. Next to the bed was a small dresser, and on top of that, a picture frame. I wiped dust away from the photo to reveal a woman, probably in her 40s. The photograph itself had an old-fashioned, faded look to it, and her hair looked very 80s. I guess this lady must have lived here before abandoning the cottage. Doesn't look like she properly packed before she left, though, given that a load of her stuff seems to be here. I briefly wondered if I had driven her to leave here so fast, but stopped myself from dwelling on it too hard. The sound effects are well done here. There was a loud groan from upstairs. The settling, the cottage's timber frame, I told myself. Regardless, it gave me a scare. This place has me really on edge. Let's hurry this up. The bathroom window was broken and one of the boards seemed to have fallen off. A black feather was snagged on one of the nails still left in the frame. The water tank was probably meant to be above the toilet had fallen down, littering the floor with smashed ceramic shards, and leaving a moldy, damp patch spreading from the toilet's gutted remains. The bottom few inches of the bathtub were stained brown, as if it had been full of rancid water for some time before being emptied. The plug hole was matted with wool, almost like a spider web. Ew. This is nasty. What's wrong with this place? No wonder it smells like... I was cut off as the house groaned, as if settling. Only then did I realize how weak the floor seemed to be in this room, and stepped back. I had no intention of falling into whatever waited for me in the basement. I returned to the living room, where I had first entered the house, and I hadn't really looked around it when I first got there. It was totally trashed. The furniture was a mess, the floor was covered in junk, and some water appeared to drip down from the attic onto the sofa, which was covered in a white mold. Ugh. It looked like blood stained the floor and seeped into the musty sofa. It couldn't be more than a month or two old. This isn't good. How do you also know how old a blood stain looks? Just asking. Hopefully someone just had a minor accident. And this is an abandoned house that hasn't had people in over 2 decades. Which made them lose about 4 liters of blood. Also, you can estimate? It's old though. I'm sure any murderer who lived here would have left ages ago. The smell probably drove them off. I stepped a little further into the room and almost tripped over something. Video game cartridge? Squirrel girl! It didn't look as dusty and decrepit as the rest of the house, and definitely wasn't old enough to be there from the previous owners. Some brown hairs and white wool blocked the pins, and the image printed on the front was scratched but still readable. Gunshot 4. Nice, really enjoyed Gunshot 3. We're gonna keep it. Oh, wait. Ooh. Sorry, I figured out a thing. Decided to keep it. Figured it wasn't much use laying around the cottage, so I decided to take it with me. Maybe I could wind down with it when I got back from my room. On the ceiling, a small trapdoor led to the attic, but there wasn't much, didn't seem to be any way up to it. I only now noticed the harsh carvings had been dug into the wall and embedded with gold paint. Dozens of identical eyes had been watching me. I found myself drawn to them. The house suddenly shuddered, and I almost collapsed. Ah! I regained my footing. Thankfully, the house remained standing. I realized I stood directly in front of the scrawlings, mere inches from the largest of the eyes. That's strange. I'm sure I was on the other side of the room when I noticed this mess. I must have stumbled over here when the house shook without me realizing it. I stepped back and turned away from the drawings, deciding to avoid them for now. There didn't seem to be much more to see on the ground floor. I still hadn't found that book. There was only one thing for it. I'd have to go into the dark, dingy basement. I forced the door open with the rusty hinges and made my way down the stone stairs. Decaying air grew worse with each step. Gah, this better not take long. The air in this place is probably cutting my years off my life. Ooh, for sure, that squirrel girl skull. Oh. But, hold on. That other skull, it could be a sheep, but I've never seen a sheep with a beak, which makes me think maybe that's where the magpie went. The stairs emerged into a large basement, almost as big as the entire ground floor. My eyes were immediately drawn to the horrific scene at the center of the room. What is this? Are those... Two skulls were positioned around the chipped remains of some kind of symbol etched into the floor. Better look around quickly. I really don't want to stay here much longer. After a closer examination, it was clear the skulls belonged to a pair of squirrels. Pair of squirrels. It's definitely Squirrel Girl, at least. Oh gosh. So much for La Rosa's Pacific Cruise theory. These both seem adult-sized, though, which means the girl is missing. Oh, Squirrel Girl. Hopefully I don't find her here. The skulls were undamaged, and with no indication of how their owners might have died. Strangely, I don't recall having seen any other bones around the cottage, so I'd leave them to their rest, now that I'd been brave enough to do anything other than nervously stare at them from a distance anyway. With the most obvious thing in the room thoroughly examined, I took a look at the rest of the basement. This whole room looked like something from one of those trashy horror stories I'd read. It was uncanny. Part of me hoped this was just the setting of a really well-decorated LARP, but I felt pretty sure that was wishful thinking. The basement was littered with black and white feathers. It looked like a bird had been in fight, but with who? Probably most of the places. God, that's creepy. Probably the most out of place thing is this murder basement. It was a small collection of dry cake crumbs scattered across the floor. Dry cake crumbs? As in parsnip? Oh god. Despite there only being a slither of cake left, I felt my stomach tighten. The deep and primal part of me knew it was a bad cake. Took a closer look at the symbol. It was etched into stone with some kind of tool and gilded with golden paint. Depicted on the eyes I had seen painted upstairs. It was no less unnerving here, especially given the rest of the room. I think it's time to get out of here. Okay, so I know so far it looks like I spent all week running errands and stuff, but trust me, I have my reasons, and I hope you will soon agree. This is where things get a little hard to recall, but I'll do my best in the interest of proving why I'm not going to need a few weeks extra to finish my... Oh my god. No wonder it's in asked or did or grabbed. It's all in past tense. And I'm like, why is it in past tense? So this is a letter she is writing to her professors at uni to try and get extra time for her coursework. Oh my god. This is a giant letter she is sending to someone. Presumably her professor. I love that. Thanks for reading this far, by the way, faculty admin team. I appreciate it. Thanks. There was a loud screech, and the cottage above me started to shake and creak. I heard a loud oh no, I heard a long groan as the basement door shut. Yeah. The cottage continued to shudder. I could hear furniture topple over and slam against the walls above me. Need to get out here before I could make a move. Wisps of golden mist curled around the two skulls. They jerked around to face me before lifting off the ground, as if pulled by puppet strings. No? Floating bones remained motionless in the air, their eye sockets boring deep into mine. Stolen release beyond the betrayal cloud waves Corcosa. The skulls called into my mind, a rasping voice that felt as if it was coming from within my own thoughts. Upstairs, the cottage continued to shake, the sound drowning out even my breath, but the voice remained clear. The rabbit betrayal, how blue, starlight, carcassa. The rabbit betrayal. The rabbit is Parsnip. Carcosa, the dreaded city trapped forever under the red skies of Hades. The stolen crown jewel of a long-forgotten empire. The setting of the King in Yellow. That much I knew. If the play was anywhere, it would be here. It's hardly at the forefront of my mind at the moment. Inspire, broken body, Carcosa. What are you? I am the abomination, the mill-form stock, the accursed meat, filthy and clean. Trapped, Carcosa, the ashen streets, the dying slumber beneath the lake, forever and yet free. Please, I didn't mean to disturb you. My friend, she came here. She wants to play the King in Yellow. At the mention of the King in Yellow, the skulls imploded with a loud crack. The eye sockets split, and the craniums almost appeared to collapse into themselves. I stumbled backwards, almost falling on shards of bone and tooth rattled around onto the stone floor. The cursed place stolen, the monochrome prophet, the broken royal. They had it. Stolen. New owner for the playground. For the play. Found. Trapped Carcosa forever, and yet I walk again. Ooh, didn't mean to click that. We will meet again, small white rabbit. Oh, the skull strapped onto the floor with a loud crash. The golden glow dissipated as the room fell slightly. I could feel myself toppling towards the cold floor as my mind disconnected. I slowly opened. A feeling of grogginess and nausea had taken over my body. Felt my head spin. I could make out grass fluttering gently in the breeze. I looked up as sheep gazed down at me as I chewed on some grass. As I stared, she wandered off and left me be. Thank you, sheep. Took some time to probably come to. That's when I realized I was crumpled in the sheep field on Daffodil Lane. The moon cast white rays around across me. I wondered how long I had been there. What happened? It was here I slowly started to remember my time in the cottage, the decaying rooms, the black and white feathers, the strange symbols, the blood. And the two skulls speak into my mind. Fuzz. How much of that actually happened? My eyes slowly started to focus on the grass beside me. There was a box of some kind. Or was it? I squinted at it. However it was wrapped in a shiny yellow skin. I reached a weak hand over to it and ran it across the top of the box. My suspicion was confirmed. It was snakeskin. My hand curled around the back of the box and felt paper. It was a book. Excuse me. Whew, this is a lot. Jeez. I was not expecting any of this. I grabbed it. I pulled it above my eyes where I could see it. Embossed in black, amongst the yellow scales, was a title, The King in Yellow. I stared at the playbook. How had it gotten here? It was held shut by a golden ribbon, but it would only take a second to undo it. I started to reach for it, my fingers feeling the soft silk. Suddenly a bird screeched a horrid caw. I jumped, almost dropping the book on my face. Far away, sat in a big jeweled tree. A strange, mangy-looking magpie stared at me. Thought of the feathers in the basement. It was hard to tell at the distance, but it seemed to be staring right at me, its wide eyes reflecting white moonlight like mirrors. I was about to shout over to it, but it took off and flopped away into the darkness of the night. I lay in the field a while longer and watched the woolly sheep munch on the grass, King in Yellow held tightly against my chest. Eventually, I managed to pull myself up and started the long trek back to my room. Jeez! I messaged Nikita and told her to meet me in the morning. She was still awake, presumably working on her campaign. She seemed pretty set on retrieving the book, The King in Yellow, right then. When I told her I wasn't going to get back out of bed, she begrudgingly agreed to wait. I shoved the play into my bag and turned my phone off, eventually settling into a disturbed sleep. Oof, sheesh. This is intense. Love this. My dreams were dark and confused. You're telling this to faculty admin as well. I stood with Heidi in the darkness. She stared ahead into the blink emptiness. A hooded figure in a red cloak approached, her face hidden behind a white mask. They stood in front of us, before reaching for their face, pulling the mask away to reveal myself. They smiled at me before crumpling to the floor as if thrown by some invisible force, their body twisted and broken. Where my doppelganger stood was a new figure, also cloaked. Underneath his hood was the face of a creature I could not describe, shrouded by darkness, but exuded wrongness. The figure's eyes seemed to glow yellow, as if they started to grin cruelly. The light of their eyes quickly drowned out the darkness. The scene collapsed into itself, and I stood in the abandoned basement. I saw myself as a skeleton, a golden glow surrounding me as I turned to dust and cackled maniacally. The horrible, dirty bird looked down at me from the top of the withered tree with branches like tangled thorns. It opened its beak to caw at me, but no sound came out. The bird broke into wisps of cloud vapor and dissolved into the dark night. I looked down, and in my hands was the King in Yellow. The bird's call finally sounded, and I looked up. Where was once the tree was now a misty shoreline. In front of me was a spire of gleaming ivory, but before my eyes I saw it rot and decay. Behind the terrible city rose a great moon. Mist dripped from it as it emerged from from a lake of cloud. The black stars of the Hades hung above me, pinpricks of oil in the red sky. Watching me from across leagues of rolling white waves stood the solitary figure of the King in Yellow. He seemed to travel towards me, closer and closer, as his tattered wrappings flapped in the wind. His long, bony arms stretched to remove the pallid mask, and I knew I had found myself in the path to truly a terrible fate. Phew! I woke up. It was 9 a.m., several hours earlier than I would normally wake up, but after that nightmare, I was glad to be conscious. Nikita liked to tell me off for waking up late, so I assumed she wouldn't be expecting me awake for a few hours. My head still felt stuffy, so I decided to walk around the university grounds and get some air. It was a pleasant morning. A gentle wind blew softly on my weary eyes. A welcome break from the heat wave. Still, it seemed like it was going to take another warm summer day. Unfortunately, it was the last thing I needed with my albinism. I'd have to put a lot of sun shampoo on my fur. The uni campus was really nice, albeit a little old-fashioned. It looks like somewhere that would be haunted and actually was, albeit only for the occasional gaunt-looking PhD student. Nikita is your future. Prepare for it. It is creepy. Not that I was complaining whether my experience in the basement was real or not. I had quite enough of ghosts for now. I walked past the old clock tower. It looked a lot more impressive if it wasn't broken. I didn't know why you don't replace it with a digital one or something. Although obviously I'm aware that it isn't really your department. That was an attack on you, faculty. I was about to say, you're complaining about uni. Well, in a letter explaining why you need extra time. This is great. Okay, here we go. Below that was an old statue of the university's founder, P.H. Lovecraft. He was a specious dickhead, but now he is just dead. I stopped. I found one of Nikita's student presidency posters. It was pretty daunting. Though on the plus side, she changed her slogan to be something slightly less fascist. Nikita is your future. Prepare for it. Although, in retrospect, might have been worse. There was a box of leaflets under it. Nikita was certainly prepared for next year's election. It was almost a shame the caretakers would probably take the stuff down by next week. I kind of wanted to take a look at one of the leaflets, if it was just morbid curiosity. Okay. Left the leaflets alone? No. Take a look to state my masochistic side. Yes. Oh, here we go. You're selling the admin staff this. Okay. Bluebell University Student Union Presidency Election 2019. Nikita, a manifesto for a stronger world. Never say manifesto. That's just not a good one. Blueberry University. Once the 9th highest rated university in the country. Now a decaying, ruined university institution sitting at a lowly 11th. Its student body had become lazy, undisciplined, and led astray by bad leadership, poor facilities, and social societies. But I shall change this. I shall make us strong. Who am I? I am Nikita. I am the top student of the Regional History and Cultural Studies course here at our prestigious university. I shall one day be our greatest student union president. This, fellow students, is my promise to you. My enemy candidates may be many, but I assure you all, among them, my equals are none. Tabitha might, especially, is a try-hard bee and would not save us from our collapse. My 5-point plan for a stronger world. 1. The library must be expanded and opened eternally, so that our minds, too, may expand. Only through knowledge can we take our rightful place in the world. I had a 24-hour library. It was great. I slept there. Anyways. 2. Too much of the university budget is spent on frivolous activities, parties, societies, and trips, to name a few. This must be diverted to improve our facilities. The union has many worthless delegates, the sports officer, the societies officer, and the administrative team, among others. These positions shall be dissolved. All power must flow to the executive. Jeez. Student union president shall be made a permanent position, lest future presidents veer from my vision and lead us back into the abyss. Oh, sheesh. She's such a dictator. We need to fix the vending machine outside of Wilbur Hall. It can no longer properly dispenses toffee millet bars. Thank you for your time. Remember, a vote for my enemies is a vote for your own destruction. Nikita has issues. Tossed the leaflet back in the box. Eventually got back to my room and took a quick shower, making sure to cover myself in fun shampoo. Sun shampoo. Not fun shampoo. Sun shampoo. I was really lucky to not get burnt yesterday, given how long I was out. Maybe the spores from the cottage rejuvenated my skin and left a healthy glow on my fur? Though looking at my gaunt, tired face in the mirror, I doubted it. Finally got around to cleaning up the cereal I spilt yesterday, better late than never, I guess. Ended up just hecking around on my laptop to keep my mind off of things while I waited for Nikita. There's a sudden knock on my door. Trixie Glimmer Smith, stop writing weird monster erotica and open up. I slammed my laptop shut. I still don't know if she was spying on me or it was a lucky guess. Coming! I threw some old underwear behind my bed in a vain attempt to seem less disgusting and lurched over to the door. I opened up and Nikita marched into my room and was knocking me over. Jeez. Hi, Nikita. You have the book? Nice to see you, too. Cut the crap, Trixie. Where's the play? Fine, whatever. But look, we need to talk about some stuff, okay? Some weird shit happened when I was finding this. I rummaged around in my bag for the book, eventually pulling out this scaled yellow tome. Wow. It's really real. For once, Nikita seemed almost speechless. She walked over to me, seemingly unable to wait to get hold of it. Handed it over, but part of me wanted to keep it for myself, if just for its value. Nikita was about to undo the rip and then leaf through the pages, but I put my hand on it, stopping her. She shot me an angry look and almost pulled away. Nikita, seriously, we need to talk. I told her everything I remembered about yesterday. Nighttime exploring Daffodil Lane, the missing squirrels, the abandoned cottage. The skulls, the ghosts waking up in the field. I told her I didn't even know where the play had come from. Nikita, I think we need to talk to someone, the police maybe. There were skulls in the basement. This isn't just some silly thing. Trixie, the skulls were obviously props. You said yourself, there's an artist on that road. They always do some weird stuff like that. No offense, but the options here are either 1, you saw a ghost. Or 2, you, the person who reads ghost porn all day, were asleep, deprived, dehydrated, overheated, and breathing mold spores, and imagined a ghost when you saw some spooky props. Then you forgot half the day and fainted in a field after finding the play in the cottage. It was a good point, but I felt unsure. The police were not helpful, but I think Nikita's wrong. But skulls, so call the police. No, shut up, Nikita. There's real skulls in that place. I'm phoning the police. I just won't mention the weird stuff. This is serious. It's more important than some dumb story. Nikita's lip visibly curls in it when I described The King in Yellow as a dumb story. Fine, whatever. Phone the police. But when you get arrested for breaking and entering, don't cry for me from your jail cell. I was pretty certain she was bluffing. I wouldn't get in trouble for that, right? Dialed the number on the police on my phone, and after a brief wait, the operator picked up. Hey, yes, I'd like to report a suspicious house on Daffodil Lane. Yeah, the creepy one, yeah, by the woods. Uh-huh. Right. I mean, there were skulls in it. Yeah. No, skulls. I saw some blood too. What, seriously? Of course you have the budget to investigate. You're like the police. Might be important. What about those missing squirrels that live literally 50 feet away? Uh-huh. Right. See, this is why no one likes to call them... Well, that was fruitless. Ugh. They'd hung up. I looked back to Nikita. Her expression was as sour as it had been when I started. Seemed significantly smugger. Apparently they don't have the budget to reinvestigate the squirrels, and they wrote the abandoned cottage off because no one could live in a place with air that full of hallucinogenic spores. I paused for a moment, considering how that could explain the ghost. It doesn't make me feel great about breathing it in for so long yesterday. There, I told you it was pointless. Now, just keep it to yourself, and I'll help you with your course of work again. Once I finish reading the play, naturally. Is that a deal, Smith? Felt wrong for not trying harder to get the police to check out the cottage. Knew it was selfish of me to ignore what might have been a huge deal, but I needed Nikita's help. Couldn't face the idea of going back to my parents after hecking up my education and not talking to them for months. Yeah, I was about to say, you haven't talked to them for months. Are you able to go back? Oh well. Well, an audible sigh. Whatever, as long as we're even now. Of course we are. I never lie. I wasn't sure I believed that. Well, I'm off to read this. I do appreciate your service, Trixie, as much as I hate to admit it. I'll draft your coursework for you in a day or two. You have to finish it yourself, though. I'm not your mother. Nikita was being uncharacteristically nice. Maybe she was warming to me. Anyway, you should get some sleep. You look like heck. Or not. I thought as Nikita marched out of the room, keeping the yellow clutched tightly to her chest. Thanks, Nikita. Stumbled back into my bed. Nikita was exhausting. A buzzing woke me up a few hours later. Someone was calling me. I was groggy and confused, so no different to normal. Reached for my phone and through my blurry eyes I could make out Heidi's name on the screen. Ah! Hey. Oh, I love the change to the rock. You owe me a job. I stopped when a bit of drool fell out of my mouth. I'd never been good with naps. I need you to come to my shop at like 5 today. Don't bug out now. You owe me for that crowbar, remember? I did owe her. It wasn't like I had anything else to do. Besides, it was good to get outside and distract myself for a while. Even if I should still be working on my report. Okay, I'll help. Good, my shop at 7. Don't be late. I have a taser. 7? I thought you said 5. Okay. Everyone is so rude to me. Curled back in bed and I was still pretty tired. I had half a day to kill until Heidi needed me. I didn't want to sit here stewing on my own thoughts all day. Yesterday had hecked me up pretty good, whether I wanted to show it or not. I'd found a coupon for a free bottle of sugar rabies in my sock drawer a few weeks back, so I figured since I had nothing else to do, I better head to town and use it. Anyway, the shopkeeper let it slip that the only reason Sugar Corp was giving this stuff away for free was because anyone who drank a can lost an average of 3 teeth, so no one was buying it anymore. Jeez. I sure hope they were hoping people would risk a bottle for free and end up hooked up on some dubiously illegal chemicals. I knew better than to wriggle with it since I didn't have that many teeth, being a rat and all. Heckin' capitalist. Truth. My phone's clock said it was almost midday and I hadn't really eaten yet. Figured I'd combine breakfast and lunch. So I had to call this new meal Lunchfast. My thoughts were cut off when a familiar figure tapped on the window next to me. I recognized Greg, a small sugar glider from yesterday. I'd wandered past this bakery without realizing it. I guess my subconscious was telling me to get Lunchfast at Greg's. Part of me thought they might be lacing their cakes with some kind of addictive substance, because I really wanted some more sweet stuff. Hi Greg. Hey Trixie, are you here for some tasty treats? I guess so. I looked around that selection. The triple chocolate muffin I'd eaten yesterday had been really nice. Did want to try something new though. Save. Asked for the triple chocolate muffin anyway, or took the healthy option, asked for a vegetable roll. No, you go for that triple chocolate muffin. Maybe a triple chocolate muffin would be nice. Coming right up. Red scuttled behind the counter, placed the food into a little bag. Fortunately, I remembered to bring my wallet today. That is good. With that, actually, I'm gonna stop here because these tend to get a little long. So, I appreciate you coming and hanging out with me. let's do this again. Come on back, hang out with me, let's have some more fun. This got really creepy, and it seems to be getting back into cute. So join to see what happens next, because this is a trip and a half, like 5 trips and a half, really. With that, subscribe, hit that button, hit the things and the stuff, so that way algorithm likes me better, because right now the algorithm doesn't like me, so it doesn't show me, like, anywhere. The only way I'm, like, able to get my videos out is actually via my website, DaintyTank.com. That's actually, like, pulling the videos from there, because the YouTube algorithm, I guess, doesn't trust me yet. Whatever. Anyways, love you all. I'll see you later. Bye!